It's funny how London's such a huge part of my identity, but from what I can remember, I don't really know much about it outside of my family, education and work. As a child, my identity wasn't really something I thought much about. I just thought about the things I wanted to do when I grew up. I knew that I loved learning to dance because my nana was a dance teacher. But when it came to physical identity, I was aware that I have an afro and darker complexion, but as far as the way how I speak and think, because I was raised in a white family and engaged with white friends, although I saw these differences, I didn't see myself separate from these people in any way. As I got older, I would look for the things in my mum that were the same as what I had. We have a very similar character and set of interests, and despite being half black, this showed me that I could still identify with my mum. I loved that I mirrored her so authentically, even if others couldn't see it. For girls, the significance of being, in quote, beautiful, well, I didn't consider it a factor that defined me. Like, although in my nana's dance school, we wore these beautiful dresses and costumes for dance shows and competitions, I only really saw it as a fun thing to do, so figured that's just what people did in the world of dance. For the most part of my childhood, I grew up in Cambridge. From year 3, kids in my class started to ask questions that highlighted our differences. Things like, why isn't your hair straight? Why are you brown but your mum isn't? Is that your real mum? Which always led to, wait, so what does your dad look like? I just figured they wanted to be my friend. But within that same year, I started to realise how my peers began to distance themselves from me. I just didn't know why. I remember my year 7 induction day, there were so many people. I had no clue where to start making friends. It seemed there was a group for everyone aside from me. Until this one girl introduced herself. We didn't have the same style, we weren't of the same colour, and we didn't share a passion for dance. But we clicked instantly, based on our similarities of being the second oldest sibling in our large families. As for other people though, it was quite hard trying to secure friendships, especially when I didn't share immediate similarities with them. I remember this one girl in my BTEC dance class. She had this long, glossy, bleach blonde hair, and though we never spoke, I immediately saw her as my polar opposite. I was so hyper-aware of how different we looked. So made the connection that people didn't treat me as kindly as they did her because maybe it does matter what I look like. So in my own way, I became just like her. Then gradually, girls became much nicer to me and guys suddenly liked the idea of a mixed-race girlfriend. In the entire school, there was only a handful of black people and an even smaller handful of black biracial people. To the point that when another black biracial girl joined the school in year 9, there was talk that my cousin had joined the school. But the funniest thing was that as far as I'm aware, all of my cousins are white or white passing. I really thought the majority had finally accepted me, but they didn't. They just liked that I looked more like them. Then when my family finally moved back to London, I felt liberated by the sight of the black community. But then instantly it hit me, just how much I grew to hate an entire part of myself. So I embodied what I thought it was to be black. But then when I met these black girls in my college and workplace, I was still met with the same caution and conditional judgment from so many of them, because I didn't know black culture like they did, and to them, I'm just another lighty. I didn't understand why I was met with such hostility by so many different types of people. How could I make something right when I was never given the chance to understand what I did so wrong? At the age of 20, it finally clicked. In a world where race is more than just a construct, people ignore everything good I have to offer, because what they see in me is what they despise in others.